title. How do you come up with a really good title? Now, your title is super important. Why? Because that's one of the biggest factors of someone clicking on your book. Your book cover is super important, but your title is also super, super important. But how do you do the title correctly? How do you come up with a really, really good title that people want to click on? Well, first of all, you definitely don't want a nice, smart title. So if you're publishing a Greek cookbook and your title is something like Finding Greece Through Flavor, that's a terrible title because you're not Gordon Ramsay. You're not this massive chef. You don't have a following where people don't care about your title. They're just going to buy the book because it's you. You're trying to convince a brand new customer to click on your book and buy your book against everyone else. So your title can't be smart. Your title needs to be super, super clear. If you have a clear title, then people automatically know what they're clicking on. If you have a nice, smart title, yeah, sure, it might sound good to you. It might sound good to other people. But if someone searches Greek cookbook for people that don't know how to cook, and then they come to your one, and then they see the title which says Greek cookbook for beginners, in their mind, that's the same thing. It clicks, and they want to click your book. If you have a smart title, they have to do some extra thinking. You don't have time for anyone to do extra thinking on Amazon. They're constantly scrolling through your book. They're constantly looking at competitors. They're constantly browsing around. You don't have time for them to sit on your listing and think about your title. So make sure your title is super, super clear and not smart. Smart titles are not going to help you. You also don't want your title to be mysterious. You don't want it to be like the Da Vinci Code. You don't want anyone to have to crack your title or figure out what your title means, or you have a double meaning or anything like that. That's terrible. You want it clear and concise. If someone's looking for a dinosaur activity book for kids, they want to see the title, Dinosaur Activity Book for Kids. It matches with what they're searching for. Now, apart from clear, you also want it to be super, super descriptive. Now, this applies to also your subtitle. Your title just needs to be clear. It needs to be very easy to understand what it's about. But your subtitle needs to be descriptive. Why? Because the subtitle is simply an expansion of your title. So if your title is Animal Encyclopedia for Kids, then the subtitle needs to tell you even more information about that Animal Encyclopedia for Kids. I'm going to show you how to do that in a bit. Now, the third thing, you need to make sure it grabs your attention. Why do you want it to grab your attention? Because everyone is constantly scrolling through Amazon. They're looking at your book for maximum half a second. If you grab their attention, you can turn that half a second into 2 seconds. Now, even though 2 seconds doesn't sound like a lot, if you stop scrolling for 2 seconds and a book gets your attention for 2 seconds, you're clicking on that book. And that's all you want them to do. All you want them to do is click on your book, because then now you have a chance of selling that book. So make sure your title is super attention grabbing. I'm going to show you a secret on how to actually make it attention grabbing. Super, super easy as well. And finally, you want to make sure you address your target audience, because people don't click on things that aren't relevant to them. If you ever been on Instagram and you got an advertisement that's 100% relevant to you, most likely you sat and watched the advertising. I'm pretty sure every man out there has got an advert for Manscaped or something like that. And we watch them because they're fun and they're 100% relevant to us. But I don't think any women are watching Manscaped advertisements, because they're not the target audience. Well, unless they're buying it for their boyfriend, but that doesn't matter. So addressing your target audience in your subtitle is super, super important. If it's for kids, make sure you include it in your subtitle. If it's for adults, make sure you include it in your subtitle. If it's for seniors, make sure you include it in your subtitle. You want people to read your title and say, I know what this book is about, it's exactly for me, and I know exactly what's inside, because the subtitle is descriptive enough. And finally, one of the most important things is you want to have, this is all one, you want to have your USP. This is what's going to sell your book. This is what's going to differentiate you from all your competition. This is what's going to make you all the sales in the world, your USP. So let's see how we can come up with a really, really good title for our Animal Encyclopedia book using all of these points. Okay, so step one, we need to make sure that our title is super clear. So what is our book? Well, our book is an Animal Encyclopedia for Kids. So right now we have an Animal Encyclopedia, which is extremely clear on what it is. It's an Animal Encyclopedia. And we also have our target audience for kids. Now we can also have Animal Encyclopedia for Kids ages 8 to 12. So now we have specifically our target audience. So we have a clear description and we have our target audience in this description. Now, how do we make it more descriptive? Well, we can add a keyword or something that tells us exactly what kind of Animal Encyclopedia for kids it is. It might be an illustrated one. So we know that it's not actual images, it's illustrations. It can be an educational one. So we know that it's more focused on information rather than just broad, fun illustrations. So let's say we have an illustrated animal encyclopedia for kids ages 8 to 12. Now we have a more descriptive subtitle. Now, what about attention? Well, we can use this for the title. So what's a nice attention-grabbing title? I was thinking something like Amazing Animals. If we have something like here is going to be the title. I don't have any space, but this black thing is a title. Let's write the title down here. Let's say the title is Amazing Animals. Or maybe Awesome Animals. Something like this keyword here grabs your attention because it's not just animal encyclopedia for kids. That's kind of boring. But Amazing Animals, it kind of wakes you up in a way. So let's say our title is Amazing Animals, and then our subtitle is Illustrated Animal Encyclopedia for Kids ages 8 to 12. So now we have the attention, we have a clear title, it's descriptive because we tell it that it's an illustrated animal encyclopedia, and we tell them who it's for. So this is our subtitle, and this is our title. Now, the final thing is your USP. This depends on your niche, what your USP is. But guess what? If you just had to take a guess, where do we put the USP? Do we put it after the subtitle, at the end? Or do we put our USP at the start of the title or the start of our subtitle? When you're scrolling through Amazon and all the titles of the books come up, you can't actually see the final things. You can only see the first 24 characters or so in the search results. So if you want people to click on your book and they're going to click on it because you have a very good USP, you need to make sure that it's at the start of your title. So what is our USP? If we're making an illustrated animal encyclopedia, let's assume our USP is that we have over 100 different animals. Let's say we have 101. People will seem to like that number, 101. So if our USP is that we have 101 animals, we can add that right at the start of the title. So our final title would be 101 Amazing Animals. This is our title. Then our subtitle is, we can have here because we're not going to repeat 101. So we're going to have the Illustrated Animal Encyclopedia for Kids ages 8 to 12. So now we have our title and we have our subtitle, and it follows every single point that we made. It's super clear. We know exactly what it is. So it's an illustrated animal encyclopedia. It's descriptive because we know it's illustrated. We know what's inside it. And it's attention grabbing because we have Amazing Animals, which is a nice title. It's better than all the other boring ones out there. We have our USP right at the start as well. It's the first thing people see, 101 Amazing Animals. Once that grabs their attention, then they move on to read the subtitle, which gives them even more information about what's inside. And then finally, we have our target audience. So when someone reads the title, they know if it's for their kid or not. If their kid is 14 years old, they're not going to click on your book. And you don't want them to click on your book because you don't want anyone to click on your book that's not actually going to buy your book. You only want the people that the book is made for to click on your book. Because later on when we're doing ads, you're paying for the clicks. You don't want to pay for any clicks that are not going to convert. You only want to pay for the ones where you're almost certain that they're willing to buy your book. But anyway, the ads is for another section. So this is how you create a really, really highly effective title. If you have these points here, then people know exactly what your book is about just by reading your title. But even more importantly, Amazon knows what your book is about just by reading your title.